They're not afraid of being raped.
Yes, exactly. That's
but
what
they still don't want
the situation for a man.
Space.
The situation with a man having a bunch of ladies chatting behind him while he's peeing is that he's embarrassed. The situation with a woman peeing and a bunch of guys chatting outside of her stall is she's afraid she's going to get gang. Okay? You know that's a difference. You know that's a giant difference. And you're just hand waving it away.
I'm not hand waving it away. You said guy. No, I was responding very specifically to the claim that you made.
You're totally hand waving it away.
Can I finish?
That book, the trans book, the shit they're doing is pretty nefarious. It's hard to read that book and not walk away and think, okay, these people are out to fuck a lot of people over. If any of you are going to read the book, I feel obligated to give you guys a trigger warning. She's totally got TDS. There is some talk about how
we said she's a feminist.
Yeah, there is some talk about how Trump is a ethno-nationalist and stuff like that in the book, which is
that's a perfect example of the elephant in the rider, an ideological capture, because you have like a feminist who probably believes a bunch of dumb shit about the patriarchy. That's all, and maybe that's all based on not facts, not science. Yada yada yada.
Totally.
But she can't see it because she buys into. Now I'm assuming here, maybe she doesn't, but she can't see that because she's already bought into the ideology. Her elephant has full capture there. But when it comes to something that her elephant doesn't like, which is the transgender stuff, suddenly she's able to be like, oh, let me dive into all the science and studies and be super hyper knowledgeable about all the facts and yada 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 yada.
Yeah, completely unbiased.
Yep.
Or if she is biased, she's biased in the favor of truth because what's going on, she can see through the nonsense.
Right.
The odd thing though is because she's like laying out the storyline of all the trans activists, and there's this huge period where they got stopped in their tracks because Donald Trump became president. And Donald Trump basically did reverse a lot of the bad things that the Obama administration had done that she is completely in favor of. But she still goes and calls Donald Trump a rapist and a ethno-nationalist and all this stuff.
Do you remember what they were? Because I only remember two things.
I'm sure those are the two things. What do you remember?
There was didn't they try to reverse the transgender ban in the military?
They changed the designation because on Title IX and stuff they were using
they wanted to remove transgender from Title IX gender.
No, they want to make gender identification. They want gender identification to be part of Title IX, sex.
Oh.
And Donald Trump said, no, it's not gender identification. It's biological sex for these things.
I know.
That's a huge change. They basically want to do away with the concept of sex and change it everywhere to gender identification.
Yeah. Or to add it on top of sex protection.
No. They want to get rid of sex altogether. They want gender identification to take the place of sex on all legal documents, in all institutions, in all situations. She even goes through, in the book, the different court cases, and she brings up that one that you were talking about where the Supreme Court 6-3 determined that gender identity can't be discriminated against.
Oh yeah, can't be. You're right. Yeah.
Right. And she says, she points out that there is a total contradiction in that court case, because in the court case, they acknowledge that gender identity and sex are these two different legal concepts and then conflate them in order to make the ruling.
Well, actually, yeah, but that doesn't matter because that's not the legal argument.
Well, you would know better than me because you know this legal stuff.
Right. Well, no, she probably just doesn't understand the legal argument, which is because the basis for that case was actually based on an interpretation of sexual orientation, which was, back, I don't know, in the 80s or whenever this case came about, someone was fired for being gay, and they said
She
that
goes into
violates
all that in the book. Yeah.
right, and they said that violates, the Title IX sex discrimination, and they said no, sexual orientation has nothing to do with sex, and they're both classified differently, which is true, they are. However, the legal argument was, well, part of a sex stereotype is assuming someone is engaged in a romantic relationship or is attracted to the opposite sex. That's part of a sex stereotype. Therefore, sexual orientation, even as a separate legal concept, would still be protected under sex discrimination or sex stereotyping discrimination. Right. But that also applies to gender identity too.
Right. But in the case that they saw was the case of a man transitioning into a woman, saying that they were going to live their lives as a woman, and the conservative organization let them go. And in the case, they never broached the idea that this would open up a situation where there are certain roles that different sexes play in a work environment. And that
I don't think you can make that as a legal argument, though.
What do you mean?
Like, what do you mean there are different roles that different genders or sexes play in the work environment?
Well, if you have someone who's a biological male that's identifying as a female, you no longer have sex segregated spaces in the work environment, because that person is using the same bathroom as all the women. So you have all the women who have become employed in this place that became employed with the idea that they were going to have access to sex segregated bathrooms. And now those people no longer have access to sex segregated bathrooms.
I understand that.
Right. So you're
all that.
Effectively taking their rights away.
Right. I'm talking about employment, though.
What do you mean, employment?
We'd have to look at, I don't know if you remember this, we'd have to actually look at the Hooters lawsuit from way back in the day. Do you remember a male server sued Hooters?
Do you understand the situation that there are sex segregated spaces that people expect to be respected?
Yeah, if her, okay, well, let me say two things.
This is why they let her go.
Hold on. I know. Well, so the first thing is, so if you're saying like there are certain jobs that require certain sex, like, okay, if you go to the massage, if there's like a female massage parlor for women, the assumption is all of the masseuses are going to be women, right? Yeah. Or certain things, like that.
Yeah. Okay. Gynecological procedures are only done by women, right?
Well, I don't.
But if a person,
you have the option. That's not. There's lots of gynecologists that are men.
Listen, some women like certain procedures done. She brings this up in the book. Okay, so if you're working in a gynecologist's office and you're a man, but all of a sudden you want to transition to a woman and start doing these procedures, then all of a sudden you have a legal case that comes up because it's gender identification and not sex.
Well, no, the legal case can only be if the place doesn't want to hire you. If a customer doesn't want you to be served by you, whether it's a doctor or masseuse or whomever, you can't sue the customer. That can just say, "Oh, I don't want to be served by you."
Right.
You're suing the place if they fire you.
Right, exactly. So if all the customers say, "Hey, I don't want to do this," and then all of a sudden you have your one gynecologist that is not doing any of the procedures, you're like, "Well, maybe we'll have to let you go."
I wouldn't use gynecology as an example. But.
Well, I'm just there are lots of situations that are sex segregated. It's like it's like the normal fabric of life. All of those sex segregated situations become illegal. In a very tangible way.
So here you go. This is actually funny. So this was Hooters' argument for why they are fine hiring males to work for Hooters but not to work as servers. They said apparently, according to Title 7 of the Civil Rights Movement, it says lets companies discriminate it actually lets companies discriminate on the basis of religion, sex, or national or origin in those instances where religion, sex, or national origin is a bona fide occupational qualification reasonably necessary to the normal operation of a particular business or enterprise.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So under that exception, that should apply to the certain this fear about like the transgender employee in the workspace thing, right?
Sure.
Okay. So that fear can be abated
if it's a certain situation, like if it's all your coworkers are gonna rebel about the bathroom situation, you're not hiring people sex specific. You're just getting rid of your sex segregated space.
I see. You're saying, so what if there's a problem where so you have a job that has nothing to do with sex. Okay. You're working at,
an accounting firm.
It
was a funeral home. It was a situation.
I know it was a funeral.
There.
Yeah. Right. So, but that was a little bit, that didn't have to do with bathrooms. But so say you're working at an accounting firm, you have 100 employees. One of the males there begins transitioning to female. So he wants to use the female bathrooms, and the female workers there all get upset about this.
Right.
Okay. Could they fire the guy in response? I don't know. Or the trans woman. I don't know. That's an interesting legal question.
They can't. He doesn't even have to. The way the law is set up, he doesn't even have to transition. He can just say, listen, I'm a woman now. Just think of me as a woman. I'm going to be using your bathroom.
Right.
He doesn't even have to have any surgery, any surgical procedures or any of that stuff.
That'd be an interesting case. That'd be interesting to see how that played out. Because you're putting forward a situation where it's like the person is, like obviously faking it or whatever, too. And I wonder how that would play into it in a legal case.
How inconsiderate of you to think that they're faking it, okay?
The example you put forward.
In their mind, they're gender abolitionists. They think, full bearded men should be thought of the same way as they believe in the female penis, okay?
Okay. It's makes a lot of sense to me that the lady that wrote this book, who's a TERF, TERFs, their big thing is the safe space for men, because a lot of TERFs, well, feminists, have a lot of anti-male fears and tendencies, and so they have these concerns. Okay?
That's not fair. That's not fair.
It is no.
That's not fair. No,
it is fair.
It's not. I'll tell you why it's not fair. Okay. Because there is countless studies in that that Buss book, that David M. Buss book, that says all women have these fears.
Oh, sure.
All women have these fears of men, of
yes.
being sexually assaulted, of being raped.
Yes, but don't you think that if you were to do, on average, take people that declared themselves feminists, not just declared themselves feminists, people that were actually like
a higher level of fear? Okay. Sure, yeah. I'll give you that.
Okay, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a higher level of fear and anxiety towards men.
If, like the fear of sexual assault in men generally
wait a minute, let me
hovers
finish my
around
point.
a 2, and in women it's like a 10.
I know.
Okay.
Right. So, but my point is, I kind of hate the bathroom argument with a passion.
Okay.
It's completely not, I mean, it is persuasive to feminists, and it's persuasive to people that want to be on that side of the issue already. So it's entirely an emotional argument. I don't care about it because it's just an emotional argument. Well, it's not really a logical argument.
Wait a second. First of all, you're a man, so you aren't concerned about
any man
assault.
Right now can put on a dress and go hide in a woman's bathroom and try to rape a woman. Okay, it has nothing to do with the trans bill. The bill, and this is where you get into a logical problem. Because what's actually happening is you're saying, oh, women go into the bathroom.
It's a completely different situation, though.
Hold on. Women go into the bathroom. They see a trans woman in there, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. Okay? And so because they feel uncomfortable, even if there's no fear, if that trans woman is someone who had gender dysphoria, who is transitioning, who's not a fucking rapist or sexual assaultist, okay? It's just them feeling uncomfortable is supposed to then determine how the law is put forward. And we've been on the issue with the woke people saying, listen, just because you feel some way about something doesn't dictate reality, right? If you have a feeling about something that's completely unjustified, that's your problem. And that's sort of where I see this bathroom argument going down. I find it such a horribly unpersuasive to me argument.
Yeah, I think it's mostly unpersuasive to you because you're a man and you're not.
No, it's because I care about.
Listen,
it's not a logical argument.
Here's a giant
It's an emotional
difference.
argument. Okay.
I mean, we structure our entire lives so we can feel safe. I don't like that's an emotion. Fear is an emotion. Minimizing fear is a thing that we do.
Definitely. But that's not a justification for
minimizing
anything.
Fear is not a justification for anything.
Why
do we have insurance?
Wait a minute. Okay, but you're not required. Well, actually, you are for car insurance, but that's for a different reason. Woke people's entire justification for everything they do and claim is it makes me feel afraid, makes me feel uncomfortable. So we should have to pass laws that restrict your freedom of speech, your freedom of ability to move around the world. This is what the vaccine mandates are. I'm afraid. The vaccine mandates are based around like, oh, I'm afraid that all these unvaccinated people are going to give me COVID, so they should have to get the vaccine.
Listen, Sitch, is there such a thing as a sex-segregated space?
Of course there is.
Okay. Is a person who identifies as a woman but has not had any sex change?
No, I don't think they should go in the other bathroom. I agree.
They should use the bathroom of their sex.
Yes. If someone wants to transition and they haven't done anything yet, okay, they should obviously not go into the woman's bathroom or the opposite bathroom.
Okay. So I also want to address what you had said about, any person could dress up as a woman and go into the bathroom. Okay. I want to address that because while that is true, and I'm sure women are afraid of that, there's a giant difference between someone doing that or the fear of someone doing that as a one-off and knowing that you're working in a place where any moment someone who looks like a biological male but identifies as a female could walk into the bathroom. This could happen 3 times a day. That's a completely different situation.
It's not happening though.
Right. But the fear of that is greater than the fear of some rando sneaking in a dress, and like that's a more persistent fear.
The fear is that a man who has not transitioned at all, who we're presuming is faking being trans, is going to walk into the women's bathroom.
Why would you say that? You bigot. You transphobic bigot. This person is not faking it, okay? They internally identify as a woman. They're a gender abolitionist. They believe in female penis, and they want to start using the. This is the ideology. Okay, so I don't know why.
Hold on. So let me figure this out. So the fear is that you're going to have someone born male who goes to the psychiatrist. They say you have gender dysphoria. They give them a prescription. They, to start the hormones and blah 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 blah. The person hasn't taken any of that stuff.
They don't want.
Hold on. The next day, they haven't taken any hormones. They haven't done any of this stuff. They go to their accounting firm job and they say, "Listen, I have this note from my psychiatrist that says I have gender dysphoria. I'm going to start using the women's bathroom because I identify as a woman." And they're going to just start going in there and start using the women's bathroom. That's the fear. Right? There's no fear that there's actually going to be some kind of sexual assault. It's just that he's in that space.
Right, because you, as a woman, you don't have. Well, you've lost the sex-segregated space.
Okay, yeah. That's first of all, I think that's ridiculous. I don't think that's happening. Okay, on the first part, this is why I hate this fucking argument. This is such a dumb argument.
Is it safe to set up a situation?
They're not even concerned about sexual assault. They're just like, I just don't want a man in my space, or what I consider someone to be a man in my space.
Having a man in their space always makes them concerned about sexual assault, especially in a place where they're changing or unchanging.
Yeah, but if this is even a hypothetical where we're throwing that out, the possibility of that out, so it's just entirely an internal fear here. Like, what? This is such a bad argument.
It's not a bad argument because if you're making a law where this is a giant loophole, people are going to take advantage of that loophole, are they not?
No, listen. it's a bad argument because anyone can do it right now anyway.
What?
I guess this would
not do it legally.
This would be the only this would be the scenario that would be different. Okay. You would say, I'm afraid that there's going to be some male pervert who isn't going to rape anyone, isn't going to sexually assault anyone.
Look, he is the nicest guy in your office. He's not a pervert.
Can I finish? Let me explain what would be the argument here.
Okay, go ahead.
It would be that, there's a male who's some kind of sex pervert, but he's not going to rape or sexually assault anyone. They just get off on, listening to women pee and poop. Okay. And so they're going to go in the bathroom and they're going to listen to the women pee and poop, and they're going to get off on it. They're not going to masturbate in there, but they're going to just get off on it. And everyone knows that this guy is doing this, but you can't do anything about it because he says, I identify as a woman, so I'm in this space. That would be the only scenario that I could see that would be different under the oh my God, the transes are using the bathroom argument. That's the only possible different scenario that I see. That isn't something that could exist right now.
I believe it could exist right now. Because I think...
Well, I'm before any trans laws, bathroom stuff was passed. Okay?
It depends upon the laws. Well, and this is still being worked out. She's clear about that in the book. Like, some places do consider legally your gender identification as your biological sex. So legally, if someone wanted to do this exact same thing, the thing that you just laid out, they want to say, I identify as a woman now.
Yeah, right.
They could do that, and if they fired them, they would have a case against them for wrongful termination.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Yes. I'm saying that's the only already scenario, a reality.
Right. That's the only scenario I could see that would be different. And to me, that's why this is such it's not an unpersuasive. It's a persuasive to many people. I personally find it such an annoying argument because I think that that's such an unlikely scenario to occur.
So it's only the likeliness of the scenario that. So do you think sex segregated spaces should be protected?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with I think there should be sex segregated spaces.
Okay. Well, with gender identity laws, sex segregated spaces are not protected. We had this case in the Wii Spa where the guy, it turned out he was a sex offender. He wasn't transgender. He did actually. He was a registered sex offender, and he went in there and exposed himself to a bunch of young women, and like people get off on it. She goes into the book that like there's some study where, some obnoxious amount of women, the first penis they've ever seen is from an exhibition. Some guy who's flashing them. So this is a pretty common kick for people.
There's the thing that bothers me about this. The thing that really bothers this is such an emotionally driven, elephant-driven, fear-based argument because this doesn't. It happens. You had that example. It doesn't happen enough to merit to be the frontline argument here for a lot of trying to push back on the trans stuff. And it's not. But this is the problem because you have a lot of people like this woman, and then the right picks up this argument because it's a very emotionally driven argument, and they put it forward, and people on the left just say this doesn't happen, and then they tune off. It's not a good argument to try to get people on the left on board with this shit, or people in the center on board.
People on the left are not.
I guess people in the center should be. Yeah, people in the center, on the left, the undecided,
and
moderate.
On the center. And she goes into this in the book with the polls. Nobody is in favor of this. Okay, the only reason these laws are passing at all is because people don't know what they're getting, and they're being completely shoved through by activists in the dead of night. And I mean, when you're talking about you don't like the argument because it's emotional, I think that's a little unfair because like you're calibrated for one situation where, the men's room is never really like a sex segregated space anyway. Like women's bathrooms for women are like are like
guys would not be, most guys not be comfortable if while they're trying to take a piss, a bunch of girls are walking in, chatting behind them. Okay. So I completely disagree with you.
Okay.
You think, imagine you're in high school, you know, or even worse, you're in middle school, you're going through puberty, you feel awkward about your body. You're trying to take a piss and some girls are walking behind you, chatting it up. Of course, guys are going to be fucking self-conscious about that.
You were going to be, you were going.
In my school, no boy used the shower after PE because everyone's like, oh, that's gay. You know, everyone felt super self-conscious and scared about this kind of stuff. So, of course, men have these same feelings.
They don't have the same feelings. That's
they're not afraid of being raped.
Yes, exactly. That's
but
what
they still don't
like,
want
the situation for a man.
Space.
The situation with a man having a bunch of ladies chatting behind him while he's peeing is that he's embarrassed. The situation with a woman peeing and a bunch of guys chatting outside of her stall is she's afraid she's going to get gang raped. Okay, you know that's a difference. You know that's a giant difference, and you're just hand waving it away.
I'm not hand waving away. You said, "Guy." No, I was responding very specifically to the claim that you made.
Totally hand waving it away.
Can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was don't Hasan me, okay? Because you've accidentally Hasaned or not Hasaned.
Your whole argument is Hasan.
No, you've accidentally.
How come it's only one incident?
You've accidentally Trap housed. Okay.
Okay.
I was responding very specifically to you, only to your one. Not that these are the same thing, but only to your claim that men do not care about having sex-segregated spaces for themselves. That was all I was responding to.
Right.
I wasn't saying that it was as bad and it has anything to do with the sexual assault or rape.
Okay. Well, I was saying that men are less caught up,
men do not have this fear. Obviously I agree with you.
Yes. Men are less can't think of the word. Women want their sex segregated spaces. They're more attached to their sex segregated places. Men are less attached to their sex segregated places. I think. I mean, I feel like that. I
think there's a better. I think here's how I would frame the argument. Unfortunately, it's very crude, but I think this to me makes more sense. Well, no. I'm saying crude in terms of a legal sense, not crude in terms of our show. The argument I would buy in terms of the sex segregated space would be, if a woman is in a sex segregated space, she should not have to see a penis for any reason.
Okay.
To me, that's a much more logical argument. And so you say, oh, well, we're not saying that a trans person can't use the woman's locker room. But if she doesn't have bottom surgery, she shouldn't be using the woman's locker room. Okay. I don't have a problem with something like that.
Should she be forced to sit in a stall with a guy peeing standing up in the next stall?
Who, the trans woman?
No, a woman, any woman. You said she shouldn't be forced to see a penis. Should she be forced to like urinate next to a man?
Well, that's interesting. You say, should a woman be forced to hear the sound of male urination?
Yeah, next to her. Yeah.
I don't know. And I think that's a little bit less egregious in my mind.
Okay. Does it matter how she feels?
Hearing the sound of a
Does it matter
man
how she feels about it? Listen, this lady works in this place. No,
it doesn't matter to me.
She goes in.
No, I don't
she
care.
goes in. You know, she's taking her daily pee break, right? And and her coworker who identifies.
She hears that. You know, when the woman pees, it's so pathetic. It's like, psst. But when the man pees, it's like, she just feels the pressure, the power of the hose.
He likes to pee next to her and talk to her. Oh, how are those reports coming along? How are those reports coming along, Mary?
Listen.
Oh, I hear you tinkling in there, Mary. Is that you?
I cannot stand, man or woman, people that try to talk to you when you're peeing. Okay, like let me fucking pee silently before you fucking. I don't want to talk about the TSP reports while I'm fucking peeing.
These laws.
It's even worse for guys because they do it. You're in a urinal. You don't even have the door separating you.
These laws are making any recourse to these kinds of situations illegal. Like
Listen,
I don't
listen,
understand.
pass the law that makes it illegal to talk to people while they're peeing, and then maybe I'll be on board with it.
This is the debate. It really is. It's how are we going to classify people? Are we going to classify people by gender identity, self-described gender identity, or are we going to class them by their biological sex? And for centuries and centuries, we've classed people by their biological sex. Now there's a new push to change all of that and to identify people by their self-described gender expression or their self-described gender identification. Not even expression isn't even part of it. It isn't, because in this situation, you could look like a man, talk like a man, piss standing up like a man, and identify as a woman and still go into the bathroom with your female penis and urinate next to Sally. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree. Yeah, listen, as I said, it's been my position from day one in this topic. I think people, when it comes to bathroom uses, people should be going to the bathrooms that they present as for trans people. So if Blair White, walks in, it's like it's Dave Chappelle's stance. Okay. Dave Chappelle's gonna be very confused. If the trans lady's like standing at the urinal, peeing. But if Blair White should use the woman's bathroom. Okay. Be very weird if Blair White has to use the men's bathroom. I think we all agree on that.
Right.
But that's because she's presenting as a woman. So if you have this situation, this very niche situation where you have, the fat bearded man who's done nothing, who's not transitioning, they should still use the men's bathroom.
Which bathroom does Addison go into? I'm curious.
Addison's
the non-binary.
Yeah, because Addison's non-binary. So Addison has thrown that to the wind. There's nothing, I don't even know how you argue that one.
Well, gender identification, I guess.
Yeah, but there's no but they're identifying as non-binary.
Right. At UC Santa Cruz, we've talked about this before. The dorms are all co-ed anyway. Like the bathrooms are literally co-ed. So, that's terrible. It's been like this for 20 years. So,
that's awful.
But this is the world that the left wants you. Look, this is UC Santa Cruz. This is the world. This is the world they want to see in Texas too. This is the world they want to see in Florida. This is the world they want to see everywhere.
I'm not in favor of any of this stuff. I'm only saying that this argument, the safe space argument, is a dumb argument because it's not logically coherent because anyone can do the thing they're afraid of right now. Okay.
Right.
So I'm saying if you want to make a better argument, I don't want to see a penis argument.
Can I just point out, okay, the thing that they're afraid of is illegal in one situation and is not illegal in the other situation.
Well, if we're talking about assault, I was talking about assault.
No. I'm not talking about
I know.
assault.
You're talking about the sex pervert who gets off on assault. Listening to women pee. Okay.
Right. Or exposing themselves in public.
Or exposing themselves. Right.
That's no longer illegal. Not only is it not illegal, you'll have an army of trans activists supporting you. That's exactly what happened at the respawn.
That's why I said a better argument would be to hone in specifically on the exposing argument and say, if a woman goes into sex-segregated space, she does not expect to see a penis.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
That's an argument I think is logically coherent and a much better argument.
Well, that's the argument they're making. That's the argument I'm making.
They're making a much broader argument.
What argument do you think I'm making?
The argument is, women shouldn't have to go to a sex-segregated space, see a trans woman, and then be uncomfortable. Okay, it's a very broad, vague statement of what that uncomfortable means and where it comes from.
That's not the argument I'm making. No.
Okay, well, that's the argument they're making.
I'm making the argument that we should protect sex-segregated spaces.
Okay. Well, we can move on.
Biological sex should be the legal standard and not. So
you think Blair White should use the men's room?
Blair White is a tricky situation.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. So that's not so simple.
Yeah. No.
Right.
I don't.
You can't just say, well, whatever your sex is, that's the bathroom you use.
I don't. That's a tough situation. Blair White is definitely a tough situation, but I still think, if if Blair White is using it's better if Blair White is using the bathroom illegally than that we make it legal for anyone to use the bathroom.
If we're talking about women's comfort, okay, this is like exactly the situation that Chappelle brought.
We're talking about sex-segregated spaces.
Okay, if we're talking about sex-segregated spaces, you get in the exact same situation that Chappelle talked about. Women are not going to feel comfortable if a trans man who looks and presents like a dude in every sense of the word, has a big beard, if not Anderson, but Ethan from the Sunday Show, walks into the woman's bathroom and starts being like, the women are going to feel uncomfortable. They're going to be like, why is there a guy in here?
I know, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. They're just saying this,
it's going to get triggered the fuck out of them.
Right, but Ethan's sex was female. So that's what I'm saying. It's not, you can't just say, well, it's a sex-segregated space. Everyone has to go to where their sex is.
I understand the complications here, but you can't just I don't see how we should eliminate sex-segregated spaces to solve this issue. I guess maybe that's what you're saying. I'm not sure. I'm
not saying eliminate. I'm just saying you can't. The criteria has to be way more complicated than just saying, well, everything's segregated by sex. Doesn't make sense.
But sex-segregated spaces has to be the starting point, obviously.
Yeah, well, it already is the starting point, so that's fine.
Right, but the literally what they're arguing to do away with legally is sex-segregated spaces.
Okay.
Yes. We should move on.
We
beat this to death.
Yes.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.